You ready? Good evening. We're opening the zoning board meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. The first article on here tonight is 189 Parkerville Road for a, where is it, Karen? Right here, 89. Karen, would you read it into the file, please?
The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Southborough Townhouse, 17 Common Street, on Wednesday, July 29, 2015, at 7 p.m. with regard to the petition of Miss Danielle O'Connell, 189 Parkerville Road, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking a variance to construct a 24 by 24 garage. The new proposed structure will be located in front of the home and will be attached. Relief is requested from Section 174-8.2D, 3C, required side yard setbacks 25 feet. A copy of the application may be reviewed at the office of the building department at the townhouse during normal business hours. Leo F. Bartolini, Jr., Chairman.
You want to go forward and make a presentation on it, somewhat?
So just,
Oh, yeah, you might get it, say who you are.
Hi, I'm Danielle O'Connell, live at 189 Parkerville Road, and I'm requesting
I think your mic's not on. They're gesturing to us.
sorry? Are we good? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, Danielle O'Connell, 189 Parkerville Road, so I'm requesting to add a garage. I did put an architectural plan there to the existing house, existing roof line, and I'm requesting the variance so that I'm able to do that on the side.
Okay. One somewhat of an issue that you need is as far as a hardship on why you need the variance. I apologize. One reason that you need to come up is for a hardship on a variance. So do you have, I mean, because of site location or the design on the site or whatever, something like that, you know?
I mean, I live alone, so more of a safety issue. I did come out in May and go to my car one day, and my briefcase was open in the back seat and on the floor, so that was a little bit alarming. And then also my dad, who visits over the summer, he does have Parkinson's, so we're gonna add some kind of ramp inside so he can access the home
Okay.
without stairs.
All right, so that's somewhat. Before I turn it over to the board, there's two issues. One issue that when this house was built many years ago, there used to be the garage on the back of where this addition is going, and where it was turned into a part of the house years ago.
Okay.
And the other issue is the road on Fox Hill Drive, which is Jack Bartolini's, is not become a public way yet, just for record. It doesn't really mean anything, but it will be, eventually become a public way. So just so the board members know, all right? Tom?
I don't have any real substantive questions other than I just want to clarify, you're seeking a variance. I think it's going 11 feet into the setback, which would then leave a 14-foot setback. So I think just the way I read this, it looked like you were seeking a setback to reduce 25 feet to 11 feet. I think what you're really asking for is reduce 25 feet to 14 feet. Is that right? Do you follow that?
Yeah. The other thing that you, just so it's known on there,
25 foot.
Right, and your house is going 11 feet into the setback, which is leaving 14 feet between
Buffer.
the side of the garage and the side of the property.
Yeah, there's an architectural plan. It's not actually going to the side at all. It's going
equally.
straight
The
out.
thing, the thing about it is that it is the same distance of the existing house.
That's,
Right.
So that's a major issue to consider, because it is the same distance. There's only a 5-inch difference. It's
Right.
14.5 to 14, so
So at the end of the
You
day,
know.
it'll be 14 feet setback from the side.
14.6 from one corner to 6
Right.
inches, just not a big.
Not 11, that's just a technicality, so it's
Yeah.
14 feet setback rather than 11. That's all I have.
Sir, Andrew?
I just had one question. So on the plan, it looks like, you just have a one-story house and you wanna put a garage that's also one story. You're not intending to build anything like this is just a garage, right?
It's the
Okay.
existing hip roof line, so it'll look almost like it was meant to be there from original. Yeah, there's a hip roof on it now, and then they'll just continue that forward.
Okay, thanks.
So it'll be like an L.
Got it.
David?
I'm familiar with the property. I drive by it all the time, and I have no problem with it. I understand the issues with the Fox Hill Road. You don't have any other place to go, basically, to put that in. So I think it'll work fine. I have no
Thank you.
problem with it.
Sir?
I have no problems either. I mean, as shown, the garage is consistent with the way the house looks currently, and it's not encroaching any further. I mean, the house already is into that zone, so it's not going any further into the zone, so I don't have any problems with it.
Okay. I don't have any problems with it also. I agree that if it maybe had extended a little more than it did, but it's the same. So I don't have any issues with it either, and the hardship that you mentioned, I think is strong enough to do it. The other issue is, I said, Mr. Bartolini, Jack, is on a butter, and I don't know if you have a comment or make on this, or use the mic if you do, please.
No, I came to speak in favor of it. It affects me more than anybody else. It comes closer to my road. The original house was always 14 feet off the line. There was a mistake years and years ago somewhere along the line. She's just going in front, so it doesn't affect me at all. So I'm here to speak in favor of it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, we have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we make a motion to approve the variance present in front of us on 189 Parkerville Road.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, so you're all set, and we'll take, and it'll take about a week and a half, and we'll get it brought in and filed for you. All right?
Oh,
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, we don't have anything now until 7:30, which is, okay, take 1 minute, please. What? Are there any comments on that?
I had reviewed it before, I had no comments.
Okay, anybody else? Jeff, you were sitting on that, correct? Yeah, okay. So no comments?
I'm fine.
Okay, so we can get a motion for approval. 1 minute. Tom, you
I'm
weren't,
not gonna vote,
you
'cause I
weren't there.
wasn't there.
You weren't there, so you're excused. Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for our last meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So it was seconded by Jeff, and it's been approved. Okay, we've got some other things here. One thing we have is on the Stony Brook Village project. We've been requested by the town clerk's office, by the assessor's office, to name the common driveway. That came a week and a half ago. I sent a letter to Mr. DePietri requesting a recommendation that he would like. Karen, would you leave that record in, that please
I've got it.
read
Okay.
it into the record?
Roads.
What? Yeah.
Reference Stonebrook Village, street name suggestion. Dear board members, we would like to request that the new road for our 55 over project on Oregon Road be named Gaffney Way. We would like to name the road after Charles Gaffney, who served on the town planning board for over 30 years. Charles Gaffney played a very instrumental role in shaping the town into what it is today. He had great vision of how the town should look and be shaped. This vision came to fruition over his 30 years of serving on the planning board. Charlie had a knack for creating a balance between developers and existing residences whenever issues arose on a new project in town. Therefore, we believe that Gaffney Way would be a great way of honoring a man who did an amazing job in serving the town of Southborough. Sincerely, William DePietri, Capital Group Properties.
I took and sat with Mr. Gaffney on the planning board for 9 years. Mr. Gaffney and myself were two of the members of SHOP-C that did the bylaw for 55 and over projects. And we also did the first 40B project in the town. And Charlie was very, very influenced on the way he worked and did. I personally agree with that, 100%. I'd like to have comments from the board members on it. Paul?
I'd personally like to see it named after one of the current members of the ZBA, but if...
What?
No, that sounds excellent to me.
David?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's Mr. DePietri's decision. That's
Okay.
fine.
Andrew? Okay, so can we have a motion to name it Gaffney Way?
I hereby move to approve the request to name the road Gaffney Way.
Okay, any further discussion? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, thank you. Takes care of that. The other issue we have is I've met with the board with Bonnie Fanneth and Mark Purple. And on the discussion of our regulations of all submittals being within 10 days prior to a meeting, they and Mr. Rooney also discussed it. They would like to shorten that up for not any applicants, but for the board members in the town. Conservation, open space, planning, or whatever. So, I think we need to decide what the time frame is that we'd like to go forward with to do that. And what do you call? So, go ahead.
You lost me there a second, so the discussion is with other boards? for
No,
their-
it is if another board, I mean, the issue that brought this up was the letter we received from the planning board an hour before our meeting at the last meeting, and I rejected it and left it off the file.
Mhm.
So this is the reason it came up. So the thing is, so if another board writes us a letter, that letter there in the 11 years I've been on this board, I think it's the first letter ever come from another board to this board anyways. But the thing is to give them, but the thing is that we have the time to review it and take it. So if we make it a certain time frame, and that way there, Karen, number one, has the time to get it out to the members. And if it's something that has to go to the applicants or lawyer, whatever, this is the time to do that. And the thing is, the major issue I have with this is that when we have a public hearing, it's 30 days from the time it's filed until we have it. And normally, if we have extensions or anything, it's another 30 days. So there is a good flex time in between to do this. But if something comes up and it just changes it to make it easier for the other boards to redo that, but it'll strictly be for them. We're not going to change the 10-day thing with any of our
Applicants.
applicants or anything like that, or abutters, or anybody that wants to make any kind of a submittal. So what we need is some kind of a recommendation.
And you're asking for a different time frame, a shorter time frame for that
They
then?
want a short, they
Right.
requested that we try to do a shorter time frame.
Okay.
Just in time.
No, it's not involved.
I think that 3 days is a reasonable time frame for the board. I'd like to do 1 day, but I would do up to 3 days. I think 3 days is plenty of time before the hearing, to give boards enough time to respond, to give our board enough time to respond before our hearing. I wouldn't want to go less than 3 days. Certainly wouldn't want to do it 5 minutes before the hearing.
Paul?
Well, I mean, well, we usually meet on a Wednesday, so 3 days would be a Sunday then? I mean,
No, it would be 3 business days.
3 business
Three
days?
business days. It gives Karen enough time to get in and distribute them. Gives us time to review it, and you know,
I mean,
I think that's plenty of time.
that seems, so what would that be, would that be Monday or the Friday prior?
It would be the Friday prior.
Friday prior.
So she get it to us, so we get it for 3 days. Is
Right.
that what you're
Okay.
saying, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would need
All right, Andrew?
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, the only one thing that you just mentioned I'm struggling with a little bit is having the different time periods to applicants. Because I guess in fairness to the applicants, you know, they have people that want to be able to respond to things. You know, if the planning board or the conservation commission gives us a letter that says they got a problem with the slope of the driveway, you know, I think we should allow some fairness to give the applicant a chance to respond to that. If, you know, and if we're gonna let the town board submit it as close as 3 days before our actual hearing, you know, I kind of feel that it's either the same time period should be afforded to the applicants, or at least give the applicants some period of time to respond if they want before the hearing, you know.
No, the thing with that, Tom, is the fact that we're going to take it and it be returned into us, we review it, and depending on where it goes at that meeting, then after that would be something that, you know, would be done. Because, you know, 3 days to do it and get it all done and mailed out to everybody, there's not enough time. That's why we agreed to change it from 7 days to 10 days, to make it, you know, fair, number one, for Karen, because it's very hard for her, because she, you know, she does all these different departments in town, and electrical, plumbing, and everything else, and they put these out all the time, so.
Yeah, it just seems unfair to have 2 different time periods for the different.
Okay, I've got one way to finalize just after we go. Andrew, are you all set with that? Okay, then I'd like to make the recommendation then that we make it that it can be done 3 days prior to our meeting. If for some unknown reason or whatever, it doesn't happen until 24 hours prior to the meeting, then we will take it and read it into the public record and then decide what will happen with it. But we're going to send a letter, if the board agrees, to the different boards in the town. And in sending the letter to the boards, if you people agree the way I'm gonna write the letter with Karen, is that we make a recommendation that they send it responsibly timed to make it so it, firstly, you know, it can be properly reviewed and looked at prior to a meeting. So we'll just put something like that in the letter, if everybody agrees on that. And then we'll get it in, you know, 3 days, and we'll look at it the night of that hearing, when we have it. And then from there, we decide what's gonna happen. But we are going to give them that 3-day recommendation versus the 10-day recommendation. But the 10-day recommendation with everybody else stays the same. Because, you know, you get things from the abutters and all these other people, drawings and everything, and come in the day before. I don't think it's right at all. And I think a major issue with this on the 3-day deal or whatever is that the process that we try to pursue our permitting process, approval or denial, in a normal fashion to go forward as proper as we can. So that's something else that we'll consider ourselves as we go along. So is the board agreeable to do the 3 days, and in the 3 days, if something comes up, that they do it within 24 hours, and we'll definitely just read it into the minutes and go from there with it. But we want it in 3 days.
I have one question, which is just under what you're considering, does the board always have the discretion to, depending on whether it came shorter, within a shorter time frame? Just, it's up to the board whether to say, we can decide to accept it or not, but that there's like a guideline or a
That
recommendation.
is definitely the board's
Okay.
decision. There's no question about that.
Okay, thanks.
So is everybody agreeable? So I'm gonna sit with Karen, and we will write a letter and send it to the boards and the Board of Selectmen, of course, telling them that we are going to give them, Karen, you're doing the minutes on this, right? We're going to send them a letter stating that they can submit 3 days prior to the meeting, and that's something that the board wants, and earlier if possible. And if for some unknown reason it's unavailable, that they can submit 24 hours in advance, and it will get written into the minutes of that meeting, and then wherever it goes forward will be up to the board members at that time. Okay, is everybody agreeable on that?
Yep.
I don't need a motion on that, do we? Can we just get a motion of, a recommendation that I can write the letter? And what I'll do is Karen and I will draft the letter, and then we'll send it out to you guys to look at it, and then we'll, okay, so just, can we get a motion just to approve the draft of the letter of the 3-day and 24-hour filing, of writing a letter?
I mean, we're not approving the draft, because we don't.
No, we're just making a
we're
motion to
approving the
re-
drafting of.
Right, we're just
What?
making a motion to draft the
For
letter.
the draft of the letter,
Right,
yeah.
the drafting of, not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
We're
then
not
we'll
approving the
draft it
draft,
and
we're
then
not looking at the draft.
we'll.
Right, I'll make a motion to create the draft, so we can review it for the
Okay.
3-day notice and the 24-hour, with the 24-hour exception.
Okay, second? Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay. So we did. So those are the only four issues that we basically have. Park Central is going on for continuance, which is gonna start in 4 minutes. And all we're doing with that is a continuance and an extension. That's it. So, Karen, do you have those dates I wanted? For me? Would you give me those dates?
Or, yeah, you should have a copy of the,
Yeah.
I gave it to you, the Park Central thing.
I may run home and let my dog
You
out.
should have it in there, yeah.
It's driving me crazy. It's been 2 months now. It's not
Yeah.
stumped.
Where is I want that other letter.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I have that other letter?
Oh, do you?
No, yeah, but what about the letter
Yeah, that's me.
from Mass Highway? From, yeah. Excuse me, can we get just a 2-minute recess here? Oh, we're waiting. We can't stop before.
Sure.
Motion, second, all in favor? Aye.
2 minutes.
We're opening the continuous hearing for the 40B project on Park Central. The 3 members of the board sitting on this are Paul, Dave Eagle, and myself. We're the 3 people. What we've got is a letter here. Karen, where's? We have a letter from Mr. DePietri requesting a continuance, and, well, where's the other letter? For the extension first. We have a letter today.
It's one and the same.
Okay.
He did the,
We have, today is the deadline on the extension on Park Central. So he's going to request an extension on Park Central until September 27th, 2015. Okay? So I need a motion to do that. Any discussion? I mean, I don't think there's an issue.
Accept the continuance,
No, not the continuous, the
extension?
the extension. So that's the extension on the deadline.
Right.
So we're making a motion to extend the deadline.
There you go. To September 27th, 2015.
I will make a motion to extend the deadline to the date you just said.
September
Okay.
I can't remember.
All right, do we have a second?
2nd.
Okay, no further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now tonight, we have a scheduled meeting now at 7:30 or 7:32. Also, for the continuance of the public hearing, Park Central. which they've requested also to continue that until our our August 26th meeting. All right, now, right now, we have nothing on the agenda for August 26th, nor will we. So, but right at the moment, due to the two permits that are coming in front of us, in case they may get rescheduled, I think what we'd do is we'll make a motion to continue to August 26th, and then at the end of the evening, or we can even do it now, I guess, is make a motion to, for the timeline, and then we do it at 7:30 and do it that way. So if something for some reason comes up, we can put it a half hour in advance.
That's fine,
Why are you saying, nor will we have anything on that night?
because it's the
The
deadline's
deadline
already
has gone
passed.
by, so there's
Deadline's
nothing.
passed.
Unless we have a continuance on one of these two hearings that
Right.
we're still gonna do tonight,
Okay.
we can leave room for them to be on the agenda someplace. So, and where, if it goes the right way, Park Central is going to do a major presentation to the board, which is gonna take at least a good hour or more. So, and in case we have to extend one of these, we'll do it. So we'll,
Do it prior.
right, so at the end of the night, when we're done, we'll change our hearing date, not the hearing, we'll leave that alone at 7:30, but we'll reschedule our meeting for 7:30 and not 7 o'clock. So unless we have to add something to it,
Gotcha,
so,
okay, good.
right? So we can, is that agreeable with everybody?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we need another motion.
I'll make a motion to, extend the public hearing till August 26th meeting
7:30,
at 7:30.
okay? And a second?
And I will second that.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor? Aye? Okay. What?
Good.
You're accepting, not?
I'm accepted.
What?
Were we on this one?
No, no. This is the 40B.
Oh, that's the 40B.
Yeah, so it's just the three of us.
Okay.
No, and the thing is, Karen, Bouvier,
We're done.
on these votes and decisions that we're doing on this, that you put that it's unanimous 3, but that only 3 members, so it doesn't look like out of 5, there were 3 votes, okay? And the other thing is, for other business discussion on this, that if for some reason one of us cannot attend that meeting, yet we have to notify the board in advance, because there will not be any meetings. It'll have to be continued, because all 3 of us have to be at all these meetings. And there's no time frame of you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just so everybody knows, so if for some reason something comes up and you can't, you have to notify Karen immediately, and then when we go the public hearing that night, then we'll have to continue it too. And the other thing is that if we did do that, I would think if you guys would agree that we do a continuance of 2 weeks. So we don't wait another month or something, because it's our fault, or even a week technically. I think maybe it would be proper for the applicant to do it that way for us, is that, you know, we continue it because one of us can't be here or something's wrong.
Yeah,
So we do, I mean, it's up to you guys. You wanna do it for a week or 2 weeks? It's your,
a week's fine.
I wouldn't,
Yeah, I mean, if we,
All right.
as long as the date
All right,
works
so
for
just
everyone.
so-
it's our fault, that's fine. with me.
Yeah,
yeah, so that's just a,
Our fault,
right.
all right?
Okay,
All right, so
all right, so we
right
have
now,
to-
we have our next hearing is at 8 o'clock, which is, 8:30, which is Carterville Road, Northeast Utilities. So, excuse me,
I just have a question.
and you have to tell us who you are, ma'am.
My name's Carolyn Parker. I'm here representing Cumberland Farms. Normally, when I go to hearings, like they say 7 o'clock and everybody shows up at 7, and then, like, for instance, if this happens, then you just go to the next
This is a
hearing.
public hearing, and it's scheduled for 8:30, and we can't change that.
Okay,
We have, and, the thing that happened to us was, there was the scheduled meeting at Park Central at 7:30, which we figured was gonna be at least a good hour meeting. Well, they continued an extension, so we got no choice.
all right. No, normally if they all say 7, then you
And,
just go with the flow.
Town council is here, and
no,
and he agrees that we have to wait.
No, I
so-
understand you have to wait because you did it,
Right.
but
Karen, is there anything else you have?
they're all at 7, and sometimes the signal.
No? All right, members, excuse me, is there anything else you guys wanted, David, you wanna discuss anything else, or I think we got everything. So I'd like to get a motion that we got a recess for, I guess, 45 minutes, 8:15. What? 8:30. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. Zoning Board reopening public hearing. We're open, this is a new public hearing tonight for Northeast Utilities. Karen, would you please read it into the record?
The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Southborough Townhouse, 17 Common Street, on Wednesday, July 29th at 8:30 PM with regard to the petition of Northeast Utilities, 157 Corderville Road. The petitioner is seeking a special permit pursuant to Section 174-11(3), illumination of signs. A copy of the application may be reviewed at the office of the Building Department at the Townhouse during normal business hours. Leo F. Bartolini, Jr., Chairman.
Karen, would you read the recommendation from the Planning Board, please?
To the Zoning Board of Appeals from Jennifer Burney, Town Planner, May 18th, 2015, regarding 157 Corderville Road, Northeast Utilities. In accordance with the Section 174-11 of the Code of the Town of Southborough, at its regularly scheduled meeting of May 18th, 2015, the Planning Board met and reviewed the proposed request for a sign at 157 Corderville Road, and reports that, 1, the sign scale is in reasonable relation to development scale, viewer distance, and travel speed, and sign sizes on nearby structures. Answer is yes. Number 2, the sign size, shape, and placement serve to define or enhance architectural elements of the building, such as columns, sill lines, cornices, and roof edges, and do not unreasonably interrupt, obscure, or hide them. Answer is non-applicable. Number 3, the sign design is in harmony with other signage on the same or adjacent structures and provide reasonable continuity in mounting location and height, proportions, and materials. Answer is yes. Number 4, the sign materials, color, lettering style, illumination, and form are reasonably compatible with the building design, neighborhood, context, and use. Answer is yes. Number 5, the sign, size, location, design, and illumination are not judged to present a safety hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Answer is yes.
All right. You want to step forward, sir? You indicate who you are and use the microphone.
My name is Scott Selesky. I work for Divine Sign. We're representing Northeast Utilities.
Okay, before you start, we don't have a proper letter here to give you authority and to do so. Now, on the original application, there's one, which I don't understand what it's to do with the director of the real estate property. Who is the owner of this property?
Northeast Utilities.
Right, so why does this say director of the real estate property?
Can I see that?
And then I wrote a letter to you 2 weeks ago requesting you to give us a letter from Northeast Utilities giving you authority to do this, which you gave it to us tonight, which is supposed to have been 10 days ago, to go on public file. So, under the condition of it, but this is not really, I mean, I don't know what the board thinks about it, but I don't think it's preferable, proper done that way. The issue is, which we're going to change down the road, and for this time here, I think if the board agrees, we're gonna let it go forward. Excuse me, one thing, other thing, Jeff, you're not sitting on this one, you know it, okay. The other thing is that it says applicant name, applicant address, contractor phone, and applicant owner. So we're gonna, property owner's name. I think we're gonna redo some of that, because basically, the sign people that are getting the sign are the owners of the business, not the landowner.
Okay.
They may be the same person, But in some places, it may be a landowner and another business owner. So that should be the way it is. And technically, there is nobody here from them to answer questions we may ask
Okay.
as the owner of that property or that business, which is an issue. So, I mean, we'll go forward and you make your presentation and we'll see the way the board entertains it as we go along. Excuse me, yes, Karen?
Should we explain who this is? Let him read this letter from, and this is in the application,
Yeah, well, the one in the application, do you know what that one is?
the original authorization in the application.
That was given to us by Loretano Sign.
And who, by who?
Loretano Sign, they're in charge of doing the Eversource changeover for all the facilities, and then they subcontract out to other sign companies because they're in Connecticut, you know.
But it says property owner. Am I reading that wrong?
What, on the application?
Right there, no.
Oh, here?
What does that say?
Northeast
No,
Utilities,
up above, title,
Director of Real Estate and Property Management.
yeah. So the thing is, the board realizes it. We'll let you go forward with your presentation, and then as we go along, we'll see whether we'll discuss it or whatever. Okay? So go
Right.
ahead, sir.
Well, I guess the town
Oh,
bylaws.
excuse me, one other question, just so everybody knows. The planning board wrote their letter, that's all they put, but they did not give any other recommendations. Under the bottom of the letter, it says recommendation by the planning board, but they did not give us any other recommendations other than what Karen read into the file. Okay? Okay, sir, go ahead.
Okay. The facility, like, Northeast Utilities is now changing over to Eversource. All New England power companies are becoming Eversource. And the Southborough facility is the emergency facility for the Northeast. So basically, if there are companies coming from Canada, you know, New York, Delaware, any place like that, sending utility power companies to work on a disaster in New England, they all come to Southborough to get their jobs, get their equipment, get transformers, wire, whatever they need, poles, things like that. So the facility would like to illuminate the sign to make it easier for these people unfamiliar with the area to find the facility.
Why?
Why?
I mean, if they go online or they use their map, says his map, it's gonna tell them how to get there.
Yeah.
So what is the reason why to use that as an excuse?
Well, it's not an excuse, it's the reason why they want to do it,
Yeah,
to help
Okay.
the people find the facility.
go forward.
All right, the current sign that we got a permit for and put up is there now, and what they want to do is, the background of the sign's not going to light up just the letters. So basically, even though the sign is white in appearance, there's black vinyl on the back of it, and the letters will light up just the color. So it won't be like a giant, like square of light, it'll just be the letters of the sign themselves lighting up.
What do you mean by the back of the sign?
Well, inside the back of the face, all right, is black except for where the colored letters are. So when they put lights inside of it, it's not gonna be like a white square with colored letters. It's just gonna light up the colored letters,
On both sides?
on both
Yeah, I've
sides.
got the thing here, on both sides?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, and
So the white, I'm sorry, just to be clear, the white part won't be illuminated.
the
just
one part, yeah, just the letters will be illuminated, and the logo for Eversource. So they're not looking to be too obtrusive, like in, any
That
other
about it?
questions? Yeah.
Okay. Tom? I'll let you start.
2 points. One, I agree with Lee about the skepticism of why you need to illuminate the sign to show people where to, if they have the address, people come from out of town, they go to that address, they see a big sign that says Eversource, I think they're gonna find it without it being illuminated. That said, I personally don't have a problem with illuminating the letters. I mean, it doesn't seem to be obtrusive. I don't know if there's anyone here opposing it, but those are my comments.
Andrew?
I had a question about, I guess it would be okay if you had the sign and then you had like a floodlight, on the ground that,
I think that's a lot about right, isn't it?
okay, yeah. So, I understand why, is there any existing sign there right now?
That sign in the picture exists now, non-illuminated.
Oh, okay.
Basically, when they changed over to Eversource, we got a permit. They wanted an illuminated sign. The building inspector said you can't have one. So we got the permit to put up a non-illuminated one, and then we're coming for the special permission asking to put lights in it.
But I guess what I was saying is, so, I mean, one of the things that you could do is just have like a floodlight on the bottom that just shines at it, and then, you know, you wouldn't need a special permit for that. And I'm just thinking about, you know, there's a bunch of other commercial properties right in the same area, and I don't remember exactly what type of signs they have, but I think
No.
there's signs that just have a
Spotlight.
floodlight on the bottom that signs. So I don't know how I
Well, any
come down
kind
on
of
this.
illumination has to get a special permit, unless you're on Route 9.
I don't
No, you
think
need it
so.
on Route 9 also.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the bylaw allows illuminated signs, but if there's internal illumination, that's what triggers the.
Yeah.
That's what's limited to Route 9 is internally illuminated signs.
All right.
So I think it makes sense to have an illuminated sign, but, you know, if you have just the floodlight like everyone else has. And so my concern is just that, you know, how is Eversource different than any of the other real businesses in terms of having the internally illuminated sign versus just the light from the spotlight?
I mean, basically, it's an emergency facility. It's not a business that, like, people go to, you know? You light up your police station and your fire station.
Okay.
Mr. David?
I have no issues with this. I think it makes sense. I think the internal lit sign makes much more sense than a floodlight. Floodlights have issues with, sometimes they get covered by snow, or they get the bulb goes out, or some branch or whatever falls on it, or it gets shined in the wrong direction, and maybe oncoming cars may see it, may blind them. Internally lit signs are a much more modern look, and I get the reason why Eversource wants to do it. Makes sense to me. I'm assuming this is going to be on 24/7, or at least through the night.
It will only be on for the night. Like, if you guys have recommendations, they would, you know, like some towns say you have to shut it off after a certain time.
Right.
But then they would want to be able to turn it on if there was an emergency.
I mean, I would normally think about maybe putting in some time constraints on a sign like this, particularly something that's off Route 9. But because there's really no homes around there, and because it's pretty much all commercial right around there, and you're only a couple hundred yards from Route 9, I have no issue with the internal sign being on 24/7.
You have, David, just to correct you, you have 57 units above that property that see that sign behind the Gulbenkian property.
Yeah, but that's quite a distance away.
Well, it's an issue, but that's why the other signs weren't done that way.
That's
So.
still quite an issue away, and it's a different
Yeah.
elevation.
I don't have a problem with the sign either. I think it looks pretty good as presented to us. I'm not a big fan of the floodlight idea. I mean, if there were abutters here that had an issue with it, I'd be interested in hearing what they had to say, but apparently,
Do we have an abutters?
there aren't, so I think it looks great, and I'm in
Certifications.
favor of it.
Okay.
He's not allowed to talk.
I don't have a major issue with this, but I do have an issue. And the issue is something that David brought up, because I've looked into this prior to, and I don't have a problem with it illuminated, but I want the board to make a condition, or I'm gonna recommend the board makes a condition, that the sign illumination is on standard hours of operation. And if there is an emergency, then it gets put on for the 24-hour period of that time. But I see no reason why it should be 24 hours a day, every day of the week, 7 days a week, for nothing. But if there's an emergency issue, like he stated, of trucks coming from or different places or whatever, that it gets put on those hours. So I think as far as the sign goes itself, I don't think there's an issue. The standard hours of operation for the sign would be from, in the after, depending on the dark, but what time do you close at night normal?
The facility's like 24 hours.
What?
The facility, there's people there sometimes all the time. It, like, doesn't have regular
Yeah, but the main
business
business there, when is it, the offices, when do they open and close?
hours. there's no real offices there.
Right, this is not a, this is,
No,
this is a,
customers-
yeah,
it's a-
I think this is an emergency facility
Yeah.
that is on 24/7.
Yeah, but
This
it's
is
not
not a
an-
typical Eversource.
Yes, it is a
Facility.
typical source that they do all all installations, everything out of that building. Everything.
But the point is, don't we want to put hours of operation, so it's not on at midnight or 2 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning? You know, shut off at 10 o'clock or something, so that, you
They're
know.
agreeable
It does
to
have
it.
permits for hours of operation.
I guess it does, yeah.
Well, the thing is that I think, my recommendation, is up to you, the board, is that we make a limitation of the hours of the sign, and it can go until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And then that, in the case of an emergency, it can go 24 hours a day, which I think that would overlook the whole thing. The major issue with this is, and it's something that I'm gonna ask the board to discuss later, is that the sign bylaw in the town of Southborough needs to be changed. And this would be something that would, you know, it would change this and make it easier and better. There's no question about it, because my personal experience that with the existing sign bylaw, it's not proper, it's too old. So, it's up to the board what they'd like to do. Any comments, or what do you?
Want to close the public hearing? No butters, right?
Right, there's no abutters, yeah, we got that, but there are no abutters present, so no public payment, so, what does the board consider?
I mean, I personally don't have a problem if it's illuminated 24/7. I mean, we had recently with the Volvo dealership, and I know we put constraints on that, but with that, I didn't have a problem with it. if it
Yeah, but
was
that's
on.
not 24/7,
I know, but I didn't have a problem if it was.
yeah.
So same thing with I don't see a problem with this. I don't think it's gonna be something that's gonna adversely affect traffic or anything. I don't think it's, I mean, it appears it's gonna be nothing too bright or
No,
disruptive. but
the other thing you have
That's
to
just I mean, that's just what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with the 24/7.
Go ahead, David?
I feel the same. This is an emergency facility. By setting times when the thing's lit and when the thing is not lit, obviously, it defeats the purpose of it being an emergency facility, because you get into a routine where it's on till it becomes more of a business sign than a 24/7 emergency operation facility. At what point do we determine who's going to police when there is an emergency, if a snowstorm's coming, or if a rainstorm, they flip the switch, they keep it on? Is there any way to police that? There's no way to police that. If we're saying, oh, in an emergency, you can turn it on, what does that mean? When do you turn it off? So I think just to make it, I agree with Paul, I think just to make it just easier, seeing that there's none of the abutters, no one from the town, the community is objecting to it. I think that we should just keep it 24/7 if that's what they want it to be 24/7. Because that's the whole idea of this facility. This is not a normal 9 to 5 bank. That's my opinion.
The big question about it is, it's not in the application. It is not in the application. 24/7.
I mean, I'm in favor of putting hours of operations on it, just because if there's no emergency and they're just operating, what's the point of having a sign on at 2 o'clock in the morning if for no other reason eating up electricity or whatever? Again, I'm skeptical about the real need to light it because emergency people coming from out of state won't be able to find it if it's not lit up. But I don't have a problem lighting it up. And if we put a condition on that you can't illuminate the entire thing, only the letters that they're planning to do, it won't be obtrusive, but I don't see any reason to have it on 24 hours unless you guys really feel like you need
I don't
to.
think they would put it on 24 hours.
What?
I don't think they would put it on 24
Well,
hours.
that's why we're gonna make it a condition. I mean, I recommend also, the thing about it is, and sort of something of what David said, I think we clarify it as an emergency of outsiders, because they do, if there's a telephone line, a power line fall down on Route 9 or something, they have to go out and fix it. But it's their internal night shift that is doing it. It's only when they have people, like they've stated, coming from out of town to come into the facility, then it would have to be light lit, which is very rare. I mean, I don't know in the last couple of years that we've had anybody come in town for anything like that. But the emergency stuff, they do, it's a shift, it's a 24-hour day shift in the building. Their crew comes and goes, they know where it is and where they're coming from. So they really, and they have not had it there for 18, 20 years, they've been there. There's nothing been there, and they've been the same type of facility prior to this, right?
Yep.
So, you know, so to make it good in the long run is that we agree to put the sign up, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and eliminate the hours to a certain time at night, and that it goes under an emergency thing after those hours for outside emergency companies. Because themselves, they're there, they don't. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
You don't have a problem with
I don't have
that?
a problem with that, no.
Andrew, you haven't made a comment.
I just want to say I agree with Paul and David that I think that I don't see the problem with having it 24 hours just because I think some of the conditions we're talking about what's an emergency and what's not can be difficult to enforce. So I think that's where I fall on this.
Well, the thing you have to realize, you go forward with that, and then you're gonna have other people come in and want the 24-hour signs too. And that just,
I mean, I guess I'm viewing this as just a regular commercial sign that, you know, if it were Volvo or someone like that, we wouldn't want them having the sign on all night.
no.
And again, if the stated purpose for an emergency is, we're all agreeing that they can keep it on all night. If they have people come from New Jersey at 2 o'clock in the morning, go ahead and put it on all night if we're giving them that. But, you know, I continue to think, what's the point of and they're not even planning to have it on all night anyway. You know, if we were treating this like a regular commercial sign, we would put some.
Well, if the
limitation on
applicant
it being
doesn't
about
have any
10 o'clock.
issue with it, we can put restriction. I don't
No,
have a
that's what
problem.
I'm saying.
Put
He
10
agrees.
o'clock.
He's
I have no
I'll work
problem
with
if
whatever you
he's-
guys want.
He's like, whatever.
All right, so why don't we come up with some parameters?
I propose no later than 10 o'clock at night and no earlier than 6 o'clock in the morning.
Are we still open? Is the meeting still open?
No.
Yes,
The meeting
we're
is
still
clo-
discussing this. We
We're
haven't,
No, we've closed the public.
We
hearing.
closed the public hearing?
no, we have not.
Oh, okay, I thought we did.
What would be hours that you would like to see then? Or what would be hours that would work?
Well, like 10 would be fine, and then like in the morning when you still have it dark until 7, maybe like from, say, 6 to 7 or 6 to 8 when.
No earlier than 6, no later than 10 at PM.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
that work, if that's works for you, that's fine with me then, if it's okay with the applicant.
I think that, and I think that's proper, I really do. And the sign.
I mean, in the summer, it's not gonna be lit up as much because you're probably talking about a couple hours at night and
And
that's
but
it.
even like if you have an outside, and I like it to specify outside emergency.
Yeah.
Because if there's an emergency internal, it's their own people that are doing it and everything.
Yeah,
They don't need, right? Am I right to say
right.
that?
I mean, unless you have a hurricane or something in the summer, it's usually in the winter from ice storms and
But
stuff
whatever,
like
even
that.
if, I don't care when it is or how it is, whatever it is, whenever you have to hire or get somebody to come from someplace else, you want them to be able to find a facility.
Right.
So that would be when the sign would definitely have to be lit. And I think that's definitely a way to go. Is there any further discussion on this?
I'm
The-
good.
Excuse me,
No later than 10 PM, no earlier than 6 AM, then in an emergency, it can be 24.
yes. And we're gonna, Karen, what we'll do is we'll close the public hearing, and as we vote, then we'll finalize that in writing for you. All right, so if everybody's agreeable, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the hearing?
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, now the next step on the public hearing is to write the condition that we've discussed. So, Tom, David, who wants to?
Take a stab at it. I make a motion that we approve the application subject to 2 conditions and 1 proviso. The two conditions being that the illumination can only be between the hours of 6 AM and 10 PM, except, the provisor is, except in the case of emergencies. And the second condition is that only the letters can be illuminated, not the entire sign structure.
Yeah, but that's right, except for the fact that it needs to be somehow worded somehow of an outside emergency. Because they could have an emergency right now and have their people have to do it.
So
And
except
there's
an
no-
emergency, then there's no limit, they can be 24 hours.
Yeah, but there's
I
no
don't think you need,
reason-
I don't think you need to say that in
I
legal.
don't think, I mean, there's
No one's
way
gonna
to-
enforce
Listen,
it.
one of you at a time.
just
Go ahead,
what you
David.
said.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say that. I don't think we need to say outside, inside. You know, this facility controls all New England. So you could have areas, Eversource employees coming from different parts of New England coming to this facility that are not familiar with Southborough, even though they're Eversource employees, because they don't necessarily have to come here all the time, to get whatever they need to get, transformers or poles, to go to, you know, New Bedford or to Boston or wherever they go. Because it's not just this small little area, this facility.
But that's why we what
So,
we've been
you know, they subcontract out not only out-of-state contractors, but in emergencies, they'll subcontract even in-state people. So at what point do you put, if it's an in-state person, out-of-state person, you know, does the light stay
Internal-
on then, does the light not?
internal management.
I
There's
just,
24-hour people that work there that do that.
yeah,
And
I
if
think
you're
we're
gonna
getting
have a
into
limitation
we're
of
getting into the
hours-
minutia too much. I think that we should just keep it simple. I don't think we need to have that kind of wording.
All right, if we just say emergency, we can leave it to the building inspector to determine whether they're abusing it or whether there's a true emergency.
Right.
I guess- I
No,
think we-
it needs to be defined. You can't just leave it open-ended.
No, it doesn't have to be defined, and you can allow the building inspector to interpret that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it needs to be defined, because we can spend a half hour with 3 paragraphs worth of definitions and still not cover everything. So I think that we should leave it up to the building inspector, and an emergency is an emergency. I don't think Eversource is gonna be abusing it. This is not something that they'd be abusing.
Okay, so clarify the motion for Karen.
Did you catch it the first time I wrote it? I think that captures it, because it just says, you know, the hours of operation are between 6 AM and 10 PM, except in cases of emergency where it can be 24 hours.
And only the letters will be illuminated, not the back.
I've got another question, because I honestly disagree with all of yous. What if we put a condition on this, that this gets reviewed by the building inspector in 6 months, and see, as we've done this in other lighting issues in town of Southborough, after it's up and done, if there's any complaints or there are any issues there are, that it would have to come back in front of us again, which is not a major issue or anything, but then that would go along with what you guys are saying and doing. But then if there is an issue that comes up, that would give the building inspector the right authority to bring it back and review it.
I think the building inspector has the authority already. If they think they're not following the terms of the conditions that Tom set forth, then they have the right to come before us. We don't need to have it in.
Can just take zoning enforcement action, they don't have to come before us.
Right, exactly. So I don't think we need to do it.
I think what he's thinking of, the board could have a condition that the board reserves the right to review the sign within 6 months if there are, to consider any issues that arise.
Right, which we've done in lighting issues before with different commercial buildings that we've had. So it gives them the right to do what you
I don't
want
have a
them to
problem
do.
with that. That's fine.
It gives them the right to do what you guys want to do, but then it also, if there does an issue come up about it, then it's something that can be looked at again.
If there are no issues, it just goes away in 6 months.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you fine with that?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Sounds
You
good, yeah.
Add that.
Sure. Oh,
All
okay,
right,
so I'll make a-
Karen, you know, would you explain, read to them the way you're gonna do that?
Reserves the right to review the illumination of the sign within 6 months, up to 6 months after the operation of the sign.
Okay,
Did I capture it?
okay. Second?
Did I make the motion? I made the motion. yeah.
Did we have a motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I made the motion, enunciated, we supplemented it through our discussion that
No,
Karen
he
just
made the
read.
motion on the
Now
3
somebody can
issues,
supplement the
and
aggregate
the,
motion.
the issue of the 6-month thing. So those are the 3 conditions of the motion.
But I think we're voting on the entire package now.
Do you want her to read it to you, Paul?
Am I okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
You're okay.
I'm good.
All right, so the motion's on the table, so I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. It'll take about 14 days to get filed.
Thanks very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Perfect time.
Jeff, do you wanna come sit on
Next
Cumberland Farms?
public
I'm
hearing.
recused on Cumberland Farms.
Thomas, you're all set, you can leave.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Jeff, you can sit on this one. Huh? I'm excited. Okay. The board is opening up a application from, where's the application? I'm sorry, I gotta find the right one here.
Cumberland Farms?
Yeah, for Cumberland Farms. Karen, would you read the application into the record, please?
The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Southborough Townhouse, 17 Common Street, on Wednesday, July 29th at 9 p.m. with regard to the petition of Cumberland Farms, 365 Turnpike Road, Southborough. The petitioner is seeking a special permit to upgrade signage, including adding LED pump toppers and an internally illuminated diesel sign. Relief is requested under Section 174-11 2D. No sign can be illuminated between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And Section 174.11(3), illumination shall be by white, steady, stationary light. A copy of the application may be reviewed at the office of the building department at the townhouse during normal business hours. Leo F. Bartolini, Jr., Chairman.
To start this off, just a clarification, this application, yeah, Karen, go ahead, read the decision of the planning board, recommendation of the planning board.
Right, so this is from the Planning Board, Jennifer Burney, Town Planner, reference Cumberland Farms, 365 Turnpike Road. In accordance with Section 174-11 of the Code of the Town of Southborough, at its regularly scheduled meeting of June 8th, 2015, the Planning Board met and reviewed the proposed request for a sign for Cumberland Farms, 365 Turnpike Road, Southborough, and reports that, 1, the sign scale is in reasonable relation to development scale, viewer distance and travel speed, and sign sizes on nearby structures. Answer is yes. 2, the sign size, shape, and placement serve to define or enhance architectural elements of the building, such as columns, sill lines, cornices, and roof edges, and do not unreasonably interrupt, obscure, or hide them. Answer is non-applicable. 3, the sign design is in harmony with other signage on the same or adjacent structures and provide reasonable continuity in mounting, location, and height, proportions, and materials. Answer is yes. 4, the sign material, lettering style, illumination, and form are reasonably compatible with building design, neighborhood contact, and use. Answer is yes. 5, the sign size, location, design, and illumination are not judged to present a safety hazard to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Answer is yes. The board voted to include the following conditions in regard to the application. The board requested that the pump toppers be set at 3 brightness with 2 layers of film, 3M Scotchel marking film, or similar. The board requested that the diesel sign have the same illumination as the pump toppers, set at 3 brightness.
Okay. The other thing is, on this application, there is a letter from Cumberland Farms directly giving the sign company the authority to do the permitting. Okay, ma'am?
Hi.
Go forward.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Parker. I'm here representing Cumberland Farms. Also with me is Ken McIntyre. He's here representing Cumberland Farms. He's the area sales manager. So if you have any questions for him, he'll be here to answer them. One thing I just want to mention, which I didn't really catch it maybe at the planning board, is...
Excuse me, ma'am, you need to talk into the mic, so.
Is it on? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. One thing when she read this, is it says, the board requested that the diesel sign have the same illumination as the pump toppers with a 3 brightness. The diesel sign is what we call a scroller price sign. So it's illuminated and there is no brightness level on it. So I don't believe that we can do that. I would like to talk about the signs first the pylon sign and then talk about the LED pump toppers, if that's all right with you. The existing pylon sign currently has, as I mentioned, a scroller price sign. The scroller price sign is, if you know what a scroll looks like in the old days, you turn them sideways. There's 3 mechanisms inside the sign that you push a button and they turn and move the numbers to change the price sign. Currently, there's a blue panel for regular and a green panel for diesel. Cumberland Farms has started what they call a Smart Pay program that allows people to get 10 cents off a gallon of gas if they are a member. So what they'd like to do on the price sign is to convert the green diesel to blue that will say Smart Pay. So the regular price will say $2.60. The Smart Pay panel will say $2.50. That will remain static at all times. Now, in order to let people know that they have diesel at the property, they want to add a 1 foot high by 6 foot wide diesel price sign that will have a green background and white lettering. The white lettering will be the only thing that's internally illuminated. So that whole sign is currently internally illuminated. We're adding 6 square feet to the sign. The reason that I had to come here for that particular sign is because of the hours of operation, which are 5 in the morning to 11 at night. Your bylaws say 6 in the morning to 10 at night. So I'm here for that sign for that particular reason. Do you have any questions on that particular sign?
Just the diesel sign?
Just adding the diesel and converting the diesel to Smart Pay.
Any questions by the board?
I don't have any questions.
Is the Cumberland Farms at the top, is that gonna be illuminated? Or is it, you said just the letter?
Well,
just
no, that sign is currently illuminated.
The whole sign's gonna be
Right,
illuminated?
the whole sign is going to maintain the illumination. But what happens is at night, it's just the blue and the green that's illuminated. The rest is opaque.
Oh, okay, I got it.
And then on the prices, it's the numbers and the word regular. So it'll be the numbers and the word Smart Pay that'll be illuminated. And then we have diesel. The green background will be opaque at night. So it'll kind of look like it's floating. All right.
I don't have any questions.
Any questions? Nope.
Okay, now I brought a pump topper here with me.
No, but I have questions.
Oh, all right, sorry.
Okay. The issue with the signs added, I don't have a problem with illumination or anything on the signs. The only thing is you're increasing your signage
Correct.
on the property. You are over the legal limitation of signage in the town of Southborough. So how is that being handled?
The building inspector didn't tell me I didn't get denied for overall square footage.
Well, you have extra square footage by adding these extra signs. The other question I have is on the Smart Pay, is that going to be on a different sign or the same sign is gonna change? I know in other Cumberland Farms, it's the same sign and it changes every 35 seconds.
That's if it was an LED sign. LED signs, if you had an LED sign, we would try to propose what we call a Smart Pay alternator that would alternate the prices from 0 to 60 seconds. It would go this price, that price.
Right,
Because
that's-
this is a scroller price sign, we're not able to do that. Therefore, that's why we need to change the panel, the green panel from diesel to Smart Pay, and we want to then let people know there's diesel there, therefore adding the 6 square feet. I'd have to look back to see
That's no problem with that then.
what's allowed for square footage, because he didn't tell me that I was over the allowed square footage.
I mean, I think that when we go forward with this even further, we'll go forward and we'll discuss the square footage after. Okay?
Yeah, because I don't know if you can let me
You
know.
can go forward now.
Okay.
I mean, there's no other issues with that.
I thought we were allowed, if I'm not mistaken, 100 square feet on Route 9.
What?
I thought we were allowed,
You have a total limitation on the total property. And your building has many window signs, and those have to all get added up to the same quality as the square footage that's allowed.
75 square feet.
75
On
square
Route
feet
9.
for the pylon.
No, for everything on the property on Route 9.
No. Is that correct? For the pylon, or?
Well, you're allowed, excuse me.
I'm looking at it.
Ma'am, I am telling you, you're allowed 75 square feet on the total property.
Okay.
Determining
So they
Old
must have,
signage.
they must have an existing variance for the, all the,
What?
they must have an existing variance.
Neither.
They must have an existing variance for the signs for the property then.
No,
Then they're over 75 square feet already.
there is an issue.
I don't know what to say.
No,
They put up what was approved probably during the site.
no, it wasn't approved. 75 square feet, I was on the board. We approved 75 square feet.
So what's there now?
I don't know what the total number is, but it's way over what it was. So
I-
I think technically, I think it shouldn't have bothered. The thing is that if the board makes approval on this, it's all well and good, but a recommendation that the building inspector review that issue, and it's up to him of whether, what has to be done or doesn't have to be done. That's all, just to make it proper. So he can take and, you know, if it has to be changed, it does, or if it don't. But if the building inspector knows better than we do on that issue. It's just that the signage, because the pumps, when they were originally approved, they put a camera system in them with a video thing that wasn't even on the approval sheet.
We've since shut that off.
What?
That's not currently working anymore. They shut those off.
When did they shut them off? I was there the other day, they were working.
Well,
I go
all
there
right,
all the time.
all right, here's what I'll say. There is a screen, and that screen has to have something on it, but it's not like a TV screen, and it doesn't change all the time.
Well, it did.
So,
It has since they
well,
put it in.
a year ago when I was here, it was shut off. It will be shut off tomorrow. That's all I can tell you.
I know the videos are not running anymore.
No, the videos aren't running. What
of
happens
when?
is the pumps come that way, and that's just the way they're made now.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I want to ask, sir, did it get, use that mic, please? I'm just curious. I mean, I go get there all the time, and it's been on.
They have just a regular advertising on it, that's it. It's shut off, there is no video playing on there because we've had complaints and we've taken care of that.
It's a static display now.
Yes.
We used to have like a video loop.
But it does have audio.
With David
There's
Hasselhoff
audio.
there and the whole
Yeah,
thing.
we have
Well, you
music
need
at the
audio
pumps.
as far as
Right.
people being able to talk to the
You
person.
have to use the help
so you-
buttons and everything, you know, at the operation of the pumps, you have to have audio at the pumps. For our people to talk to the customers and also for the customers to request help from us, so you have our audio.
That's like
but
a
that has-
regulation type
yeah.
of thing.
The thing is, I don't, it's just something that needs to be looked at, and I would just say we make a recommendation and let the building inspector do.
Exactly.
When we get to that point.
Yeah,
That's all.
when I came like over a year ago, we did shut them off the next day. So if the video is not playing, that's the way they come now. You know what I mean? It's not like Cumberland Farm says, oh, I want, you know, it's just, they're made that way. And you don't know until you get them in, I guess. So they weren't trying to do anything, you know, tricky, sneaky, whatever.
No problem. Okay.
And we did take the Smart Pay sign down from the front of the street, if you noticed that, a year ago. And I believe that's still back there somewhere.
We got it
And
hidden.
that will
We got it
go,
hidden.
yeah, that will go away if, you know, the signs get approved.
Right.
The main sign.
Okay, any further comments, ma'am?
The toppers.
What?
You want
Oh,
some-
yeah, we're gonna do the pump toppers.
All right, let's do the pump choppers next, please.
All right, now, bear with me when I show you this.
Sure.
This,
Excuse me, I completely disagree with the prices on that sign. We're gonna do it, let's do it
that's the
right.
prices you get if you deny me, no more.
I mean, they dropped
But,
8 cents a gallon today.
All right, so basically what I wanted to show you this side of the pump topper because this is the pump topper that when I came a year ago, we were originally asking for. This was a pump topper that would say Smart Pay, it would alternate, and it would go from Smart Pay to non-member, all right? And it would alternate, and they were all gonna be a certain brightness. Now, having done these hearings for a couple years now, and going to towns that aren't too, you know, keen on these type of signs, we've come a long way as far as trying to make the towns happy. So now I'm gonna turn it around. It's still gonna alternate because I can't stop that, but just let me show you what we're doing. So this is gone now, all right, so that's not there anymore. What we have, if you notice, see how bright this is? And then it gets dimmer and dimmer. What we have here is we have a film that we take and we put it over the whole pump topper. So what that's doing is it's reducing the glare. This pump topper is set at 5 brightness. We're gonna reduce it down to 3. I can't do that because the little button won't work. So I apologize for that. This is one I just take everywhere I go. So basically what we're trying to do is show you that we're trying to work with you. They are set back 50 feet from the roadway. They are parallel with the street. They're not meant to be seen from the roadway. They're meant to be seen by the people at the pump. The reason we're asking for the LED is because people have to go out there every single day and change those magnetic pump toppers. You know, it's a time-consuming task. There's 8 pumps there. They have to take cones. They have to shut the lanes down. You know, in the weather, it's icy, it's snowy, it's whatever it is. They have to go out there and physically change these. And that takes somebody from the store to go outside and do this. It's a safety issue. Now someone's left alone in the store or whatever, you know what I mean? So, you know, we had a heck of a winter last year. Hopefully not a repeat. But you know, these are things that have to do. As far as the brightness, you already have canopy lights above you, so I don't think that these are gonna, you know, shoot off any additional illumination that should be a problem. You know, like I said, we are trying to reduce the glare with the 2, you know, coatings of thing, and then.
Is that represented by the right side? What you think is going to end up looking like?
Yeah, it's gonna be even a little bit lighter.
Is that the one of the town recommendation from the planning board? Would be that light there?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's even gonna be a little dimmer.
It'd
So
be
like I
what?
said, it's for the people at the pump. It's so the people, because currently we can change the price sign from within the building. Now we still have to go out daily and change the prices. So they will remain static at all times except be changed once a day.
Now,
Same as the sign.
When the store closes at night after 11,
They get shut off.
those get shut off too.
Right, the only thing,
Everything is shut off.
the only thing left on is emergency lighting. Yeah.
Correct.
Any other questions? Okay, a question I have is, that is not going to fluctuate back and forth.
No, it'll remain static.
It's going to remain
Change once a
static,
day.
okay?
Yep.
And I don't have a problem with the thing, but I do have an issue on the brightness of the light. I think that the second light at night should be that brightness versus the lower brightness. Because the sign.
That would just be one layer of film then.
Right, because, I mean, this is my personal, because I've seen them in other stores and stuff, and some places where you go, because they're under the canopy and everything, the lighting is so, it's kind of hard to see it. I mean, if I don't have my glasses, I have a hard time. And I just don't know if it's something the board wants to consider, that at night, what do you call it, they can go to, can you do that with the lighting, or is that not able to have 2 different?
No, the pump, it has to all be one.
It would all be just
Yes,
one, so
right.
you can't go the other
Yeah,
way.
it has to be one standard thing for it, because it's all electronically controlled, so you can't alternate, you know, breakers and everything between the different
Yeah.
signs.
Right.
Okay, so, I mean,
So the issue is that whether you should have 1 layer of the film or 2 layers. of the
Right.
film,
right, so, I mean, it's something the board to consider if they want to go to 1 or to 2. I think the middle one, I think is a little, and if you go to, I guess it's Irving in Westboro? What's the next gas station above you, Irving?
No, that's a golf, isn't it?
The one that just opened?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't help us. That's bright.
What?
That's very bright.
Very bright. it
Yes.
is, and it's brighter than,
See, Cumberland Farms standard for their signs, no matter what LED sign, starts at 6.
what
on
is
a-
their standard?
Their standard is 6. So we're gonna drop
What
it,
is it on one of
we're
them?
gonna drop it down, that's set at 6 right now, so we're gonna drop it down to 3.
49.1 is 6?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna drop it down to 3. You can't go any lower because the bulbs will just burn out and you'd be constantly changing the bulbs, so.
All right,
You know what? I kind of agree with Lee. I think the
I mean, one thing you're talking about one of the busiest intersections or most prominent intersections in Massachusetts. It's the intersection of Route 9 and 495, 2 of our major thoroughways. Having a sign there, I mean, it's for gas. It's a nice function for the town, for people all over the state. So as far as the brightness, it doesn't bother me. If they, whatever, I think they've done a tasteful job on all of this. It's perfectly reasonable for a gas station. It's, you know, we don't have neon.
This is one of our flagship locations in Southborough, so.
And I mean, I'm not an expert on what works best for lighting, but one thing I do know is red lights are the least difficult on your eyes. That's why they put them in submarines and all
The
that.
thing
other
is,
good stuff.
the other thing is, if you look at the pumps on that location, coming westbound, you're almost on top of them before you can see them, you know?
Well, I think most
And
people will be looking at these.
That's right. You have the bigger signs to look at. If you're coming eastbound, it's down in the hole, so you really can't see them. So I don't personally think it would be a major issue to have them in the second luminous versus the first three.
I wouldn't
just
mind
think-
6. I don't think I mean, you're literally in the middle of an interchange. I mean, I don't understand.
It's on the, but
I
it's,
don't have a problem with it.
it's on a existing site. That site's, you know, it's a little tighter than it should be. We threw that before.
To
when
to
we
be
built-
truthful, they're coming up that road and going down that road, they're not even noticing these signs.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They're not even noticing them. They're seeing the big white building with the green striping around. That's what catches their eyes. The signs, you know, they're nice for us, for the operation parts of it. You know, because we handle the safety of our people. They don't have to go out there changing it, you know, with 8 cars going at a time. It's a big safety factor for us and everything, where we can
It
just
makes-
press a button.
It makes
And it
sense.
changes.
And the other thing with it is the issue of the brightness. I don't think, because of the way it's located, that little bit of difference,
No.
personally, I don't think it's gonna make a issue traffic-wise or anything.
Only if you have
But
trouble
in-
seeing like you apparently do.
In
it's kinda
general,
nice.
for older people and stuff, I think it's an advantage
Yeah.
to do that. I really do.
Yeah.
And so that's not, I mean, how do you people feel?
That's fine.
Oh, believe me, we would take the
Yeah, we'd
one
take
on
the
the left.
first
I'll
one.
take the first one, because again, that's
So the one on the far.
left.
Left is
that's
with no,
3 brightness, but
no
no
f-
film.
that's 6,
Oh, six.
that's
That's
6
six.
That's
brightness.
6.
That's a standard industry right there, is 6. We
So it's
just,
gonna get even dimmer, so maybe you don't need a
The one in the
film.
middle is level brightness 3, but with 1 layer of film.
No, the one on the
Right.
right is 3, or actually 3 is even a little dimmer.
No film, this is 1 and this is 2.
right.
And those are all lighted to 6.
Right.
So otherwise you say leave it at 6 with 1 film if you're fine with that one.
Yeah, I think that that's fine.
6 with 1 film.
I mean,
I'm fine with 6 with no film if you
I'm
want.
fine with 6. Maybe we shouldn't even put any restrictions on it. I don't know. Maybe let the applicant decide what's best.
Well, I think that due to the general rule and regulation, that we ought to have some sort of a restriction, something which the planning board recommended, but I think a little stronger than what was recommended would
Yeah,
be.
I would be happy with the
in
one
general
film. I think
public,
the applicant would be
uh,
happy with
board
the one
agreed.
film.
We have no problem with that. That's easy to fix.
Okay.
So you
And
don't
it-
have to specify any brightness in the condition. You just say 1 layer of film.
Just one layer of film with the
Yes.
6.
That's,
levels.
that,
But so
Okay.
they're changing their application, right?
what?
They submitted the application for a certain brightness in film. That's on the application that actually.
Right, but our condition is going to change that, right? Karen?
Right,
What does the
two-
application say?
3 brightness with 2 coats of film.
So we can approve that, but have the right to go up to a 3 brightness with 1.
But what is
Or
3
no, it's-
brightness?
what's
What does that
3
mean?
brightness?
3 brightness.
Versus
Well, what
6.
it is your bulb's this big at 10, it gets smaller. The bulbs get smaller
Oh,
as the
okay.
brightness
So which
goes
one did
down.
you put in your application?
Well, I thought I had to kind of put what the planning board, you
Right.
know, recommended,
But
so.
We
Oh.
recommend, we did the planning board
So she put the
recommendation.
planning board
Yes.
recommendation.
Right.
That's why it's that
Right.
way.
All right,
So,
yeah,
I
no,
mean, I'll-
that's
As
fine.
I
We can-
stated before, they go in front of the planning board for recommendations prior to filing the application with us.
Right.
So when she filed the application, then she did it, so that's why it's filed that way.
So normally you wouldn't be able to give them greater than what they.
Applied for. Yeah, that makes sense.
Why?
We could if we wanted to.
But why couldn't we?
You can do whatever.
That's just usually a general rule, that you couldn't give them more. You could give them less, but not more than what was advertised.
Oh.
So I guess I shouldn't have done that?
What?
Well, if
I
you're
guess I
satis-
shouldn't have done that?
Well, if you're satisfied with this
Yeah, we
level,
have other towns that's what we're at, so.
No, you have, if you have,
What was
advertised.
submitted and advertised, yeah.
What?
You can't,
to exit your
you can't
house.
do more than what was advertised, seems to make sense.
Apparently. Or
Yeah.
you could, if you wanted, you could refile the
You could
application
refile.
and
Well,
turn
well,
around and,
No,
We'll
live with
leave
the
it
recommend-
as it is and then go
what?
from there.
What your recommendation is, that's what we will go with.
Okay, all right, so we can stick with the two film. The two film with the, three, six lume light.
Right.
With the
What?
two, layers of film.
Yeah.
It's 3
As
brightness, 2
5.
film.
Three
As per the
brightness with a
application.
6 lume light.
As
and
per
the-
the application is fine.
So it'd be the
Three
three
bright-
brightnesses and 2 films.
As
Three
per the
brightness and the two
application.
So,
I, that's good, I just learned something that I didn't know,
Yeah.
because
All
I,
right, so
I
the-
thought that you guys
thing-
wanted me to put what
any
the
further
planning board said.
discussion?
I'm good.
You wanna close the?
Okay, so I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second. Oh, I motion to close the public hearing.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye, okay. We agree on the 3 brightness and the 2, what do you calls? Is that agreeable with the board?
Yep.
Okay,
As a
and,
process.
is the board agreeable to ask the builder inspector to review the sign qualifications of
Yep.
of square footage for the total property?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're agreeable to have him review, to have the
Just
building
have
inspector review it?
Just have him
Do
review
it,
it.
that's his, his,
Yeah, he's the
have him
enforcing
go
officer.
through
As a
it.
condition of our approval of it, or just as a general statement?
No, we make it a condition, that he reviews it
Okay.
and just make sure it's proper, that's
Right,
all.
right. But then we also gotta, I would approve this as well,
What?
and improve this as well. We were just approving that
Yeah,
in
but-
your first date.
But we're approving that too,
Yeah.
right?
I think
But it doesn't matter, 75 square feet for the total
No,
property.
no, I'm just saying you left
Yeah, we're
this
gonna
part
approve,
off.
yeah, they,
We're gonna approve it all,
Yeah.
right, no
I
question.
think what you were saying was that having the building inspector review the total signage, that really just has to do with the pylon, but it doesn't have to do with the.
Now,
no,
th-
that's not true.
No, it has everything.
Every,
No, it's everything.
every sign on the
Because,
property.
because the
What
way
it-
that bylaw is written, it's the sum
There were-
of
there were
all
two
the
square
signs on the property.
footages.
Sign, the signs on
So,
the gas
and it's his
pumps,
interpretation of the,
signs everywhere.
there were 2 square footages, one was on Route 9 and one was not on Route 9,
Right.
correct?
so
Yeah.
let the
That
building
again?
inspector.
One was on Route 9, there's a square footage, and then there's one not on Route 9.
No,
So, no, I mean, in the bylaw, that's what
1
it says.
square footage.
Right.
I haven't looked at it in a while.
We've
What-
closed the public hearing, actually.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So,
What I would recommend is we approve the application in its entirety as written, but we'd also ask that
I
the
know.
building inspector review the square footage as a condition of the approval.
okay. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
We have a second? And then any further discussion?
I have one thing, we didn't talk
Yes.
about the hours. There was some discussion that the permit calls for 6 to 10, and they go 5 to 11 or
Right, but-
something, so we need to,
But that's already.
But that's a part of the total application.
all right, I know, but we need to make sure that we're comfortable with that. If we're approving the application,
And that's saying 6 to 11?
yeah.
I don't have a problem with
I
that.
don't have a problem either, I just want to make sure
5 to
everyone's.
11.
5 to
5
11.
to 11.
That's what it's currently running at.
So,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I just
Yeah.
add that to the decision.
Yep, and the hours of operation being, all right, so then I would also,
I don't know if that's.
Excuse me,
it's
Karen.
not- I would leave it off.
they must already have an
Excuse
approval.
me, let's, one thing at a time.
Public
No,
hearing's
public hearing's
closed.
closed, Lee.
Public hearing's closed.
Public hearing's closed.
Yeah, so,
So,
The hours
I-
are.
I mean,
well-
what we could say is we could just say that the building inspector would review the hours of operation
There we go.
and the signage issue. That's all. Let the
yeah,
building inspector.
that'll work.
Yeah.
And let Mark take care, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do I
Okay,
have
so
to do that again?
Karen, do you, all set on the decision?
So to approve the application,
Hold on, please, go ahead.
which she was asking for me to say it. So approve the application as provided with the condition that the building inspector will review the total square footage and the hours of operation.
Okay? All right, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I need a motion that we close our meeting tonight and schedule our August 26th meeting at 7:30.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing tonight.
Excuse me 1 minute, Karen?
could.
No, because we have nothing else to do. That's the only thing on the agenda, and, and who knows if they don't even come. So, there's nothing
7.
else, so we do 7:30.
All right, so I make a motion to close the public hearing tonight and to have our next meeting at
Thank you.
7 o'clock on the 26th.
7:30
7:30
on the
on the
26th.
26th of August.
And just so everybody knows, there are the three of us that have to be here. And
Yep.
as I stated before, no, you weren't here, but we stated before, if any one of us can't be here, we have to notify Karen immediately, we have to know, because we have to continue the public hearing. The two that are available come in and we continue the public hearing. We cannot have a meeting, a public hearing, but only 2 members.
Correct.
The applicant's aware of that. It was brought up by Mr. Monchant. That's the way it is.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor? We're done.